Hi, welcome in. It's Shaped by Kate. Today's yoga flow is a hip opening flow, and it's going to be for all levels because the poses will build off of each other. Optional props will be our blanket, which I highly recommend since we're going to be doing our pigeon pose, and it's really comfortable underneath that femur bone, especially if you only have a really small space between that thigh bone and the floor in your pigeon pose. And then I also have blocks if you feel like the ground is too far away in your pigeon pose for that palm. If you don't, you can just use your fingertips or even just a pillow to add height. Going back to the blanket, it's really nice because you can adjust the height versus this block, which is only covering a portion of my thigh bone and it's kind of uncomfortable. So I would really recommend opting for that blanket as your prop. And for our final prop is our strap, which I actually won't cue in this practice, but it's optional and for you there. If you don't know how to add in the straps, I make short videos on how to use them in your pigeon poses. Starting off with our practice, we're going to start in our child's pose with really straight active arms, fingertips pressing into the earth. Bringing awareness to your own openness into your yoga practice and bringing that to your poses for today's flow. For those returning to this yoga practice, just remember it doesn't have to look the same each time. Alright, let's activate the hands. So walk them forward and inhale, roll up to your tabletop position. Stack your joints over your hands and knees and start your cat-cows. Always working with your own rhythm to your breathing. Adding in those extra movements if needed, like shifting back in our cat pose or shifting forward in our cow pose. Beautiful. Make your way to a neutral spine. Curl the toes under, and you're going to walk the knees behind the hips, palms slide forward. Inhale, open up into your puppy pose. So tailbone curls to the sky. Gaze is in between your thumbs or even your elbows, as if your chin could touch down onto your yoga mat. Beautiful. On your next exhale, curl the toes under, slide the hands back, and shift back into tabletop. Now turn your hands into fist and set them right in front of the knees, finding narrow cat-cows. So starting with the tailbone, curling it down into cat. And then starting with the tailbone, curling it up, rest of the spine follows into cow. The reason we're leading with our tailbone is just so that spinal flow isn't going to the middle or lower part of our back and we're not throwing out our spine. Find one more round of narrow cat-cow and meet me in downward facing dog. Your goal in downward facing dog is to drive the heels to the earth. So that can either be in movement or stillness, and finding that nice flat back, broadening the shoulder blades, so pulling them away from the spine. Since we're still warming up, let's take our small steps to our forward fold. It's almost like a half step each time, bending the knees whenever you need, and pulling your hands away from the earth when you need. Then round at the shoulders, find that first forward fold. For those that still have socks on, you can take those off since we're heading more to our balancing poses or being more on our feet. If you don't have socks on, you can stay in that forward fold for now. Beautiful. Inhale, find a flat back, half lift. Adjust your feet to your yogi squat. So toes out, heels in, sit the hips down. Optional block underneath the hips, especially to support those knee joints. Inhale, lift the hips, find your half lift, and adjust your stance to a narrow stance. Inhale, reach the arms to the sky, sit the hips back, chair pose. Inhale to lengthen, find that upward salute. We're going to find palm tree arms. So you're going to bend the elbows to clasp the hands, flip the palms to the sky, and find a chair pose with those palm tree arms. Keep the hands where they're at. Inhale, reach up and find your standing back bend. So just squeezing the shoulder blades together, finding just a little shift back. Exhale to neutral out the spine. You can release your palm tree hands, find chair pose again. This time we're going to step the right toes back and shift into our goddess pose squat. Bring your palms just above your knees. We're going to find our goddess pose twist. So one shoulder shifts towards center while you look the opposite way. Inhale to center, exhale, twist to the other side. Continue just at the rhythm of your breathing. Beautiful. Sit back up in your normal goddess pose position, elbows hugging in. Inhale, lengthen the arms and legs, and just turn the toes to the edge of your mat. We're going to fall into our wide-legged forward fold. Inhale to roll back up to standing, sweep your arms to the sky. And then we're going to pivot the left toes to the front of our mat, find our triangle. So hips reach back, left arm reaches forward, right arm arcs up and over our ear. Find your extended triangle. Breathe in and breathe out, fall into your fallen triangle. Left hand reaches towards the earth. Back hand presses against the inner part of your leg. Then inhale to bring your right hand where your left hand was. Exhale, revolved triangle. Left hand's either on your hip or reaching for the sky. Gaze comes back down to the earth, square everything forward. So right toes point to the front of your mat and they step forward, find pyramid pose. Either in a half lift or a forward fold. Bring out those blocks underneath your hands if you need extra support, or I'm bending my front leg here to rest my chest on my thigh bone. Inhale to rise, find standing pyramid pose. We're now finding our back bend with our pyramid. So hands come behind your spine, fingertips pointing down. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, open up your heart. Another option is to find Namaste hands behind your spine. That just allows more space to squeeze the elbows together and lift the chin. Beautiful. And maybe you close your eyes. So squeeze the legs together to find that balance. And then exhale, find your half lift. Exhale to fold. If you have those Namaste hands, they'll eventually kind of undo themselves. Elbows feel heavy. If you need balance, remember to bend that front leg. Now let the hands fall heavy towards the earth. Bend your left knee and step the right toes back. Let's find low crescent lunge. Inhale, arms sweep to the sky. Gaze follows your hands. Press your palms together. And then reach your hands to the front of your mat. Inhale, left hand opens up and you're going to twist into your revolved low crescent lunge. Twist back to center and let the hands fall to the earth or your blocks. They frame your left foot. Pick up your back knee. And we're pivoting our toes to the right to fall into our skandasana pose. So hands are used as props or you're using blocks. If you're like me, I can't really shift from lunge to that skandasana, so you can stand up, adjust your pose. Remember, it doesn't have to be this continuous flow like in ballet. We're just doing yoga practice, so you find your own way to that skandasana pose. And if you're feeling warm, hands don't have to be on the earth. They can be at heart center. Either way, let's find an inhale, exhale breath. We're going to lift the hips, shift back to that low crescent lunge, and we're just stepping the right toes up to the front, finding our chair pose. Lift the chest. And then inhale, reach for the sky, find that back bend, upward salute. Next, exhale, find a neutral spine, shift back into that chair pose. Let's head to the other side. So this time you'll shift that weight to that right foot, step the left toes back, and find that goddess pose squat again. Option just to hold this pose, lengthen your arms if you'd like. Or if you'd rather find more movement, you're going to inhale, lengthen legs and arms. Exhale, bend the knees, bend the elbows. Just finding extra movement in your goddess pose. All right, wherever you're at, let's lengthen both the legs and arms. Pivot the toes just to the edge of your mat to find that wide-legged fold. This time, since we're a little bit warmer, you can reach those arms to the opposite side of your mat just to help pull that chest closer to your legs. If you need, you can bend the knees slightly just so you're protecting those hamstrings. Beautiful. Inhale, roll up to standing, sweep the arms to the sky. Now we're pivoting the right toes to the front of our mat to find triangle pose. Right hand reaches forward, left arm reaches back. Shift forward into that extended triangle. Left arm reaches up and over your ear. Inhale to exhale here. Beautiful. Next, exhale breath. Fall into that fallen triangle. Right hand can reach towards the earth. Back hand presses against your inner part of your leg. Inhale to prepare optional revolved triangle. So left hand reaches where the right hand is. Right hand can come to your hip or reach for the sky. Or if this is putting a lot of pressure on your neck, gaze can always look down in your revolved triangle pose. Beautiful. Square everything forward. Step those left toes, maybe a half or full step into your pyramid pose. Bring out your props if you're using them. Exhale to half lift or forward fold, bowing your head. Squeeze the legs together without moving them. Find your stable stance. Inhale, roll up to your standing pyramid pose. Roll the shoulder blades back, find pyramid back bend. Creating those Namaste hands or just hands in your back chain pockets. Lift the chin, squeeze the shoulder blades together, flaring out the elbows, and then also maybe closing your eyes. Squeeze those legs together. Inhale to exhale, find half lift. Inhale to exhale, find that fold. Namaste hands undo themselves. And I'm bending that front leg to support or balance my upper body. Crown of the head and elbows feel heavy towards the earth. Now the hands feel heavy. Frame that right foot, bend both knees. Step the left toes back, find your low crescent lunge. Inhale, hands reach for the sky. Look towards your palms, squeeze them together, then reach them to the front of your mat. This time, right hand opens up, find your low crescent lunge with a twist. Look towards your right shoulder. Next breath in, that right hand can come meet the left. Frame your right knee. Let's pick up the back leg. This time shifting to the left to find your skandasana pose. So I'm heel toeing that foot a little bit closer to be aligned with my right hip. Or you can also just redo the pose, stand up in your wide stance and sit the hips back down, find skandasana. This time those left toes are reaching up towards the sky. And again, I'm not in a very warm room, so I'm still using my hands as my props to support myself so I can be on both heels. Beautiful. Let's lift those hips, shift back to the front of our mat in that low lunge to our squat. Lift the chest. And then inhale, lift the arms, lengthen the legs. Let's find that back bend, upward salute. This time from your back bend, you're going to take a big exhale, swan dive to your forward fold. Take a break here. You can also take a sip of water. From our forward fold, we're going to be in our seated position. We're going to be in butterfly pose, facing the right edge of our mat. So while you're coming down here, also bring out your props for your pigeon pose. So I'm going to bring out that blanket. We'll be doing our first pigeon pose with our left knee in front. So I'm just setting that blanket on the left side of my mat. Once you've set up your props, find that butterfly pose towards the right side of your mat. And you can hang out here, so you can stand upright. Or you can find that half lift, shift forward, or fold in your butterfly, bow your head. Maybe that forehead comes to stacked hands or your toes. Beautiful butterfly. Go ahead and inhale, roll up from your pose. We're shifting from butterfly to 90-90 to pigeon. So shift the weight to your left femur bone and left shin bone. Frame that left knee, so look towards the front. And you're just flipping that right leg so the inner part of your knee and shin are on the earth. In 90-90, let's frame that left thigh bone. So I'm bringing my hand just behind the shin. Then you're going to flex the toes, and you're going to try to lift that knee and shin off the earth, followed by the foot. This is a super small range of motion, so you don't need to move any other part of the body, just the shin and foot and the knee. So as you can see, I'm not lifting it very far off the ground. It's really small, but I am doing something right there. Beautiful. Now let's bring that right hand in front of the shin bone, other side. So flex the right toes, lift your shin, knee, and foot off of the earth, and lower. only letting that part of the body move so you really activate the hip. We're just doing little reps of lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Beautiful. Now bow that chest forward, lengthen your right leg behind you, shift into your pigeon pose. If you wanted to try that from butterfly to pigeon, you can also come back to that butterfly pose. Shift your weight to the left femur bone and shin bone, flip the right leg and extend, find pigeon pose. Wherever you're at, let's set up those props. So if your left femur bone is floating off the earth, place that blanket or sweatshirt underneath. Exhale to bow forward, find passive pigeon. Inhale, come back to your active pigeon, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Exhale to passive pigeon. Inhale, back to active pigeon. Beautiful. Continue at the pace and rhythm of your breathing. Next time you find active pigeon, let's stay there. Hands are going to be grounding down. If they feel kind of far away, that's where we're going to take a block and set it underneath our left palm. That can also just help you push more into your back bend in your pigeon. Exhale, reach the right hand forward. And then inhale, tuck that right hand into your chest and reach it to the back leg. So finding your revolved stance. Good. Look towards your back shoulder. Then exhale, reach that right hand forward again. Inhale, reach it back. This time, lift your shin and foot off the earth and catch hold. If you can't catch hold, you're just holding that twist. This is where our poses start to build off of each other, so you can stop whenever you want. For those catching hold of the foot, hug the heel towards your glute. Your hold is on the inner part of your foot with the thumb to the sky. As you're hugging that foot towards your glute, you're just going to slide the palm across the top of your foot and slide it down towards your forearm and the hook of your elbow. Good. Then if you don't need that left hand for support, you're going to reach back and catch hold of your fingers. If you can't catch hold, there's just a space between your left and right hands. Either way, let's find that mermaid pose. So lift the left elbow, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and look towards the front of your mat. Depending on how this mermaid pose feels, hold for 8 rounds of breath, or you can just hold for 1 single breath. And you're just landing in that 90-90 pose again. Bring both legs in front so the knees are just tucking in front of your chest, and just bow your head forward, counter pose from that really big back bend. Beautiful. Go ahead and meet me in downward facing dog. For those with props, you're just moving that blanket or any of your props over to the right side of your mat for the other side. Then once you get to downward facing dog, we're going to do a second counter pose, our 3-legged dog. So neutral spine, left leg lifted, bending and straightening the knee, shaking out any tension built up in that knee joint. Beautiful. Set the left toes down, shift forward into your plank pose. Shift forward, exhale to lower, inhale, find cobra or upward facing dog. Pressing the tops of the feet down, feeling that lift all the way from the hips to the nose. Exhale, come back into downward facing dog. Beautiful. Let's come to the other side. So find your butterfly pose, this time butterfly facing the left side of your mat. And again, butterfly, find freedom here. You can stay upright, you can shift forward, or find your forward fold over that butterfly pose. Refresh your mind to start that pigeon series on your other side. So maybe this is your more dominant side, so it might feel a little bit easier. Inhale, sit up in your butterfly pose. Now shift the weight to your right femur bone and shin. Look towards the front of your mat. Flip the left knee. Find 90-90 pose. Good. Bring that hand just behind that front shin bone. And let's do those leg lifts. So flex the right foot. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. So some of you may be able to find that lift. If you're like me, there's not really much of a lift, but I am flexing and unflexing that leg. Beautiful. Other side, place the hands in front of the shin, flex the left toes back, lift the shin, knee, and foot off of the earth, and lower. Now here I'm showing an exaggerated lift and lower. We're not crunching the left side in. We're not trying to compensate for that lift. I'd rather see no lift than a lot of movement in your upper body. This movement really isolates those hip muscles. Beautiful. Bow forward and extend that left leg, find pigeon. If you wanted to find that transition, find butterfly pose again and shift into your butterfly. And this is just a little bit easier for some people because typically in yoga we find pigeon pose from downward facing dog. So this is great for those who maybe struggle to get both the shin and femur bone on the earth. So you can always keep that in mind in your yoga practices if you didn't want to do that transition. Alright, if you haven't already, set up your props for that pigeon pose. So blanket under the right femur bone and finding inhale, exhale in passive and active pigeon. Finding your back bend in each active pigeon pose, lifting the chin and squeezing those shoulder blades together. A modification here would be to find a 90-90 position with this inhale, lift, exhale, lower, if that feels like a lot of pressure on that right leg. Feel that openness in your own flexibility. So prepping to either add on to this pose or take that step back if that's part of your flow today. Go ahead and reach for that block if you're using it and set it under your right palm this time. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, hug the legs. Exhale, reach that left hand forward. Inhale, tuck it into your chest, squeeze the left shoulder blade to your spine. Look towards your left hand. Exhale, undo that pose, reach forward. Inhale, open it up, look back. Lift that shin and heel off of the earth, catch hold. Make sure that heel is stacked over your knee joint. That's where the blanket is kind of nice. It helps you sit up more upright. Squeeze the heel towards your glute. As you do so, you're bending that elbow and then you'll find space to slide your palm across the top of your foot. And then the top of your foot comes to your forearm and the hook of your elbow. If right hand isn't needed, go ahead and reach back, maybe catch hold of the fingers. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift that right elbow. Try to look towards the front of your mat, find mermaid pose or a variation. This is a pretty advanced pose, so hold for either inhale, exhale. If it's comfortable, hold for those 8 rounds of breath. Either way, we're heading to a 90-90, so you can just let that left foot fall behind you gently. Finding both legs in 90-90 position. Bringing the feet in front of you, bowing your head forward, counterposing from that really intense back bend. We've now done mermaid pose or pigeon pose on both sides, so reflect back and cement that feeling into your heart and mind. Take your time, meet me in that downward facing dog. So you can move those props out of the way. Neutral at your spine again in downward facing dog. This time lifting the right leg in 3-legged dog, open or closed, bend and straighten the leg. Shake out any tension built up in your knee joint. Set the toes down and let's find that traditional flow. Inhale, shift into plank and shift onto your tiptoes. Exhale to lower. Inhale, find your upward facing dog. Find that nice back bend, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Belly button reaches up to your chin and your nose. Exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Beautiful. A few more poses to cool down. We're going to head to our camel pose. So uncurl the toes, walk your hands back, and stack your hips over your knees, and place those palms behind your lower spine. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift the chin, find camel pose variation. If you wanted to head to a normal camel pose, you can reach for your heels, lifting your heart up and over your imaginary arch. If that feels really far away, you can undo your camel, curl the toes under, and then reach back for your heels. Sometimes just that extra lift can help you reach into that camel pose. I find that's a little too rough for my knee joint, so I'm going to grab my blocks and place them in between my heels. So that way when I inhale, come into that camel pose, my hands can reach for the blocks. Remember, if you don't have blocks, you can just stay there with the hands on your hips. You'll still feel that really open heart position with your chest and chin lifting high. Beautiful. Exhale to unwind from camel. Find that neutral spine. Stack shoulders over hips. Very gently come out of that pose to be mindful of your back. If you have props, move them out of the way. And we're heading to that bowing yoga mudra. So you're still going to be upright on your shins and knees. Clasp the hands together, roll the shoulder blades back, and then exhale, bow forward, hinging at the waist. Set the top of your forehead on the earth and pull your clasped hands towards the front of your mat, only if it feels nice to do that gentle pull. Then you're exhaling, finally falling into your child's pose. Chest collapse on your thighs, hips come to your heels. Hands can stay reaching back, or you can reach them forward in traditional child's pose. Next, counter pose. If your hands are reaching forward, go ahead and reach them to the back of your mat. Flip your palms to catch hold of your heels. Exhale, find a cat spine. Lift your hips away from your feet. Lift the crown of your head and set the crown of your head on the earth. Find rabbit pose. So gently just pull on the heels. Feel that stretch in between your shoulder blades. A really deep roundness from that mermaid position. Next, breath out, release your hands, bring them in front of the knees, and slowly lift the gaze, coming into hero pose. Be slow and mindful, especially if you're not used to sitting upright quickly from an inversion. Go ahead and sweep those legs in front of you, and let's prep to be on our spine for the rest of class. So you can take a sip of water, put those socks back on, roll down onto your yoga mat. We'll take one final back bend. So how we're going to set that up is we're going to create this diamond shape with our hands, and you'll be setting those back hands underneath your tailbone. So I just like to set my feet onto the earth, slide my back hands underneath that tailbone, and then extend both the legs and send your weight to your toes. So you're going to point the toes and sort of shift your weight downwards. Inhale, lift the heart. You're going to lift the head, look back, set the crown of your head on the earth. Chin is reaching for the sky. Find fish pose. Lift your heart as if it was being pulled by a string up to the sky. Exhale to ground down in your palms, forearms, and toes. Beautiful. One more inhale, reach. As you exhale, you're going to gently lift the head, tuck the chin, rest the shoulder blades and heads on the mat. Slide your palms out from under you, flip them to the sky. Your counter pose is corpse. If this feels super intense on your spine, you can take a quick hugging of the knees into the chest. From here, though, we're going to go straight into Savasana. So find that strength now in your stillness. Prevent any movement or adjusting in the body. If there is that need to move, remember it's done without thinking or thought. With that stillness in your mind and body, I leave you here in Savasana. Beautiful. Start to awaken from Savasana pose. Wiggle the toes and the fingers. For those going to fetal position, start to bend the knees, tuck them into the chest. Shift over to a favorite side. Find fetal position. After a few more breaths in and out, make your way to your seated pose. Bring hands to heart center, gently bow your head. Send gratitude towards this practice for finding that openness in your flexibility and in your mind, especially openness towards your pigeon variations. Beautiful. Take your bow forward as respect to your yoga. Namaste. Thank you. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.